Hello, everyone. Welcome to our session on effective online instruction. My name is Denise Hunt, and you will continue to hear my voice as well as the voices of my colleagues as you move through this professional development. So welcome to our session, and I just want you to know that you will only hear my voice moving forward. I'm going to stop the video sharing right now so that you can concentrate on the content. So the instructional coaches at UNC Pembroke are so excited to have you join us. And we hope that you're able to take away some valuable information today that will positively impact your classroom. Now, we understand that you had this role of virtual teacher thrust on you without a moment's notice. And hey, let's be honest, it's been overwhelming for everyone. But hopefully we can provide you with some tools today that will make things a little easier in your classroom. We have developed a participant's guide for you to use today. It is a step-by-step set of instructions that will provide pertinent information to you as you move through the professional development. If you do not have the guide in front of you now, please pause this session and locate your guide. We would like to take some time to introduce ourselves to you. Please note that we have also provided contact emails for you if you need to follow up with us for any reason. My name is Denise Hunt, and I'm an instructional coach at UNC Pembroke, and I work in public schools of Robeson County as well as Scotland County Schools. I will now let my colleagues introduce themselves.
Good afternoon. My name is Carrie Brewington. I am an instructional coach. I support Bladen County Schools, and I am also in the UNCP region.
Hello, everyone. This is Jamie Graham, and I also serve as an instructional coach in the UNCP region, serving the Innovative School District, Public Schools of Robeson County, and Whiteville City Schools.
Thank you, everyone. So we want to talk about some virtual norms that we've established. Please note that these virtual norms were established to ensure that we have a positive experience. While some of these do not apply to the situation right now, please note that these are best practices to have in your online environment. You'll want to mute your microphone when you're not speaking. And of course, this does not apply, but again, we're discussing best practices for you in your online environment. Utilize video if possible, be actively present. And there are activities that we have included in this professional development, and we would love for you to be vulnerable. This is a safe place to do that. And also, to ensure that this experience is very interactive, please make sure that you are utilizing your participant guide during this professional development. Thank you. Also, establishing norms are very important. So these are the norms that we hold dear to our heart at UNC Pembroke. We believe in service, community, growth, results, and always, always remember to find joy in the work. These are our session outcomes. You will understand the importance of online communication. You will explore some communication tools that will help you during this time of virtual learning. You will understand the difference between synchronous and asynchronous teaching. And then we're going to allow you some time to explore multiple digital tools. Every session that UNC Pembroke coaches provide also shows how we align our work to the North Carolina Professional Teaching Standards. This particular session highlights the following standards: Standards 2, 3, and 4. Please note that your participant guide provides a hyperlink for you to explore all the North Carolina Professional Teaching Standards at your own leisure. If you have not familiarized yourself with these standards, it is very important that you take some time and explore these. When you receive your observations from your administrative team, please know that these are the standards that you are being evaluated on. So let's take a few minutes to acknowledge where we are in our hearts and minds right now. Let's do a Baby Yoda check-in. So I want you to glance through all the different variations of Baby Yoda provided on the screen. Which Baby Yoda represents you today? When you have made your choice, there's a link for you in your participant's guide to click on. Once there, provide your number and provide a brief description on why you chose that number. There is an example typed in red for you to look over if you're still unsure of the activity. So let's hit that pause button and give us a Baby Yoda check-in. Now, hopefully you had a little bit of fun with our Baby Yoda activity. Please note that as you are designing lessons for your own virtual classroom, fun activities like this provide a way for your students to socially connect. Now we're going to switch to a more serious note. So if you notice on the screen before you, I have a Padlet that we want you to work on. We want to know how our current situation is impacting your role as an educator. We have created a Padlet for you to record your responses on. Make sure that you head over to your participant guide for clear directions on how to complete this activity. Hit pause and let us know how you are feeling. Welcome back to the presentation. You just participated in 2 activities that are strongly connected to social and emotional learning. Research suggests that you need to provide a space for your students to socialize and connect emotionally. So while academics are certainly important and should be a priority, you also need to provide a space for your students to discuss their frustrations. This is the perfect segue into our first topic of this discussion, staying connected to your students. So we did these first 2 activities because we wanted to form a connection with our participants, and we wanted our participants to form a connection with each other. These are some of the things you really need to consider when you're working in your own online environment. So this tweet for me, when all of this was happening and coming through the news, this was a tweet for me that just kind of really connected with me. Online doesn't mean you need to change how you teach. You are still just as human, and so are the students on the other side of your screen. Email, text messages, phone calls, these are all ways to sustain a human connection. And remember, at the forefront of what you're doing is you are teaching humans, and you are not teaching machines on the other side. So here are some tools that you can use to stay connected with your students during this time. So think about setting up virtual classes for everyone to kind of congregate in virtually. Please, 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 I encourage you, have virtual office hours. I know that it can seem frustrating because you post these hours, you go into a room, maybe only 1 or 2 students hop in, but think about what you may be that lifeline for that student that really needed to talk to you or really needed clarification on an activity. Please consider these tools such as Zoom, Skype, Google Hangouts. There are multiple features or multiple tools for you to use to reach out to your students. If a strong internet connection is an issue, think of some tools such as YoTeach, GroupMe, or even Flipgrid or Voxer are possible options for you to stay connected. So let's talk about some tools that you can use when you stay connected with your students in order to continue positive communication. So you may want to consider sending your students extra reminders, maybe a daily email with a list of tasks that they need to complete for the day. And please, I'm encouraging you, but I know different counties have different guidelines, but you need to be flexible with any deadlines that you have. Things are just different when you're working from home. Some of our students have become, babysitters. Some are providing meals for their family members. So they have other responsibilities that they're juggling, not just your class, and just please consider that. Also, please, please, please continue to build community. Consider your e-learning experience as an extension of the community that you have already built in your physical classroom. You're just extending that beyond the 4 walls in a virtual environment. As you're building lessons, please consider their interests. You've gotten to know them all the year long. What are some things you remember that your students really love to read about, or some things they really love to talk about? And also, continue to make socialization a priority. We tried to model that with you with our first 2 activities. So please make sure that you're continuing that in your online environment. Now, As we've segued into really talking, now we're going to start digging into the types of learning the students should encounter in your classroom. So there are two types of learning. There's synchronous learning, and then there's asynchronous learning. So really, let's kind of talk about and explore what those differences are. So when you think about synchronous learning, it's just students learning at the same time. Communication is happening in real time. Everyone is in the same classroom in a virtual environment working together. Asynchronous is students are learning at different times. This right now is an asynchronous activity. We provided this session live a couple of weeks ago, and it was a synchronous activity because we were all involved at the same times. So that gives you a kind of an idea of the difference between synchronous and asynchronous learning. Now let's talk about some advantages to synchronous teaching and some disadvantages. Obviously, you have the immediate personal engagement between student and instructors. You've got that immediate connection. They can see you or at least hear you, and you get these responsive exchanges. Of course, the disadvantages, of course, are you can't please everyone all the time. I have teachers that have scheduled class meetings, and then they texted me back and said, parents can't be on right now. And these are kindergartners we're talking about. So I have to change it to this time. Can you come on now? So just being flexible with that and knowing that that is a disadvantage to trying to have everyone on at the same time. And then obviously Wi-Fi is an issue as well. Now let's talk about some advantages and disadvantages to asynchronous learning. Of course, there's high flexibility involved in this. So you have students that may participate in asynchronous learning that didn't participate when you were in the classroom together. I've had incidents of that happening with some of the teachers that I'm coaching now. It's really odd to see, but some students may feel that they have the flexibility of hopping in and out whenever they choose to, and that choice is so powerful for some of our students. And of course, there's increased cognitive engagement because students have time to really go through the material and explore it. And of course, your disadvantages are that sometimes students just don't feel engaged. You have some types of learners that really, really need that one-on-one or that connection with other students or connections with you. And then there's the potential for course material to be misunderstood. So if you're using an asynchronous environment, you really need to make sure that your course material is very thorough and thought out. Now, I've been doing a lot of talking. So now it's time for you to spend some time processing what we just learned. We've provided you with some in-depth articles on synchronous and asynchronous learning, as well as some ways to stay connected to your students. If you look, we have all of these hyperlinked in your participant guide. Your job for the next 15 or maybe 20 minutes or maybe 30 minutes if you're trying to fix lunch in between doing this activity is to go into each of these articles, read through, and then provide some responses in a graphic organizer that we have provided. So what you want to do right now is pause this, go and grab your participant guide and get started. And we really hope you enjoy this activity. So welcome back. So now that you've spent some time exploring how to communicate in the online environment, the differences between synchronous and asynchronous, and you've probably even sat and thought, well, you know, am I heavily synchronously teaching or is my classroom heavily asynchronous? So you really need to think about that. Research suggests that you should not be doing just one of those the whole time. It needs to be a blending of the both of them. So to support that, we have provided you with some tools that you can use in your classroom. A synchronous tool that you used actually when you first hopped on with us is Padlet. So this is an online bulletin board. It's extremely interactive. It's very easy to use. So what we did with this is we just posed a question and then we asked you to respond. So it is a really good way for you to kind of take a pulse of the classroom. Maybe it's a quick formative assessment for you, but it's a really powerful tool and it's very easy to use and accessible to not only you, but also our students. Next is Pear Deck. So what can you do with this digital tool? So this digital tool is very much about interactivity. So lots of times some of our teachers use the presentation tool of maybe a Google slide or perhaps a PowerPoint. Well, we know that sometimes that is not as interactive as we would like. So this tool actually lets students, they can draw pictures, they can enter text, numbers, multiple choices. So it provides a space for them to completely connect with the material that you are presenting to them. So now let's give some asynchronous digital learning tools. One that I would suggest for you is Flipgrid. It's a really easy way to record and upload short videos, upload pictures. Students can respond to prompts. You can have book talks. And for my math teachers out there, it creates an amazing whiteboard for you to use. So Flipgrid is definitely a tool that I would encourage you to think about incorporating into your classroom. And finally, Screencastify. This is perfect for your class if you want to record and edit a video on how to solve a problem, or if you want to videotape yourself giving a brief mini lesson on looking for inferencing in a piece of text. So it integrates well with Google Drive and YouTube, and it's a really great asynchronous tool for those students who maybe you had a synchronous class and you guys all met up at noon, but half the class decided, I'm not going today, but you really need to go over this material for them. Screencastify is the perfect way to do that. So that concludes all of this session. We hope that you enjoyed it. If you will, please, here's another tool for you to use. This is a back channel. So if you will follow the link here in your participants guide, and we'd just like you to respond to the prompt, what virtual tool will you try in your virtual online environment? We've exposed you to several during the course of this online professional development, so please go through and choose one. Find us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We would love to have you following us. We are providing tools all the time on these 3 types of media, so please find us. And we always appreciate your feedback, and we actually take your feedback and we design our professional developments to reflect the feedback that we have received from you. So please finish this survey, and we would appreciate it so very much. These are the resources that I used, and I cannot thank you enough for joining us. Please, as always, if you have any questions or concerns, our emails are at the beginning of this. Please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you so much.